Hello, this is Matt from Bloc Party and you're watching lxjovem.
Find it hiding in the shadows. You'll find it hiding in covers. It'll walk you home safe every night. It will help you remember.
Have you ever visited Lisbon before?
We came here for the European MTV Awards in 2005. And rather bizarrely, we got nominated for Best, I think, Alternative Act.
That's the way it is, and that's the way it is.
We had a day to ourselves here, so yeah, I had a great time. I went to the castle and I went on the trams. I really like the trams because they go through these really improbable kind of routes between like narrow roads and houses. And I remember the kind of elevators you have in the centre, you know, when you go up different levels, and you know, these big old elevators. Architecturally speaking, Lisbon is a very interesting place. It's not like many European cities I've been to before.
Speaking about weekend in the city, it sounds very mature. When I listened to it, I thought these guys seemingly had all the time they wanted to record this album, or took all the time they needed, but at the same time it feels there is a nervous undertone underneath. What's different now from the recording process of the Silent Alarm?
Well, you're right, we did have much more time to record this record. We were working under very, very tight time and financial constraints with Silent Alarm. So we didn't have very long, and you know, we definitely took our time to make the best record we could. But the nervousness you talk about it's kind of always underpinned everything we've done. There's always been this nervous energy. And I think that might come back to the forefront of what we do in the future. I think maybe the third record will be a bit more aggressive than this one. If that's one of the constituent elements of the band, you shouldn't really rail against that. You should, you know, that's what makes watching a band interesting. You know, watching this tension on the stage. You know, watching people struggle to communicate their musical ideas to an audience. This record is it's the most slick record we could make, and I don't think we'll make another record like that.
Is it mostly about London, really?
It's certainly a record born out of its immediate environment, which is London, but really you could take that blueprint and transplant that on a number of Western cities or societies, really. It was more of a statement on life in the Western world, I think, more than anything else. But London acts as a basic reference point, because that's, you know, most of the action takes place in London.
Now is not the time for liberal fools. So I got hunting for witches. I got hunting for witches. It's a going to roll.
Is it still a pleasant place for you to live? Especially with you know, Kelly, but you know, with all the tabloid pressure and all that, you know, getting into all of your private lives and stuff like that.
Although we're fairly successful in the UK, we're not really considered a mainstream band. I mean, we get onto national radio, but we're not the kind of, well, yes, you know, obviously the focus generally is on the singer when it comes to a band's private life, but Kelly's never really been the person who's courted publicity in the same way that someone like Pete Doherty might, you know, or even a Chris Martin. I think, you know, we generally try and keep ourselves to ourselves, and our private lives are private. You know, we're not interested in self-promotion, really.
Have you gotten the praise from the mayor of Kreuzberg?
I don't know if there is a mayor of Kreuzberg actually, but I mean, it is an area of Berlin, but I don't know if there is actually a mayor of Berlin or not. But anyway, a lot of German interviewers when we were there 2 weeks ago were you know, asking us about, you know, the relevance of Kreuzberg, and we don't really play it very often live because it's quite hard to play, because when there's a bit when I stop drumming and then the audience clap, but it's very difficult to stay in time because they always speed up. But we made sure we played it in Berlin. So. Yeah, but, you know, we're doing our bit for German tourism.
What's with picking on 15-year-olds on this album?
Picking on 15-year-olds? I assume you're referring to the song Uniform, mainly. We're not really picking on 15-year-olds. I think that song is far more concerned with the forces which apply pressure to teenagers in regards to teenagers and, you know, commerce and you know, having to assume a certain lifestyle. It's far more about how trends and ideas and issues which affect, you know, younger people are appropriated by big companies and then kind of sold back to them to the point where it's not entirely sure what's actually generated from like kind of a teen lifestyle and what's forced upon a teenager.
The music business seems to be thriving on new bands at the moment. Do you agree?
I do. I think we're all slightly concerned that especially in the UK now, the industry is very much in danger of swallowing itself up. There isn't really this focus on bands as long-term prospects, really. It seems to be a new band, then put a record out and then sign another new band, and it's more about generating new bands and hype rather than allowing bands to grow, which I think is a slightly worrying trend.
Not to you guys, at least. I think it's fairly safe to say that you are a career band. You know?
You know, I think even though there was a lot of hype surrounding us when we started, we always tried to kind of diffuse that, you know, kind of in the same way the Arctic Monkeys have done, so even though they're much bigger than us.